Life can be harder than what you imagine it to be. There, you may have the difficulty of giving the same level of love with acceptance of yourself. Vulnerable for you to share your visions and imagination and philosophical pondering with others from when you do. Feel intimately bound to those who share with the results. It can be powerful to vulnerable, left to let you someone for the internal world, for negative impacts it may include for you being accused of being distant for the code, or stuff as your appearance to others is not altogether present what is, shutting others down for the meaning what a seer can look at, deeply into someone for the gathering of information for the patterns that can be used to control the others or situations and the power of a seer. It's not understanding the soul for the gift of a system. It's the seer practice. Sometimes life can be harder than what you imagine it to be. For there you may have the difficulty of giving us the same level of love with acceptance of yourself. Vulnerable for you to share your visions and imagination and philosophical pondering with others from when you do. You feel intimately bound to those who share with the results. It can be powerful, vulnerable, left to let you someone for the internal world, for negative impacts it may include for you being accused of being distant for the code, or selfish your appearance to others is not altogether present what is, shutting others down for the meaning what a seer can look at, deeply into someone for the gathering of information for the patterns that can be used to control the others or situations and the power of a seer, not understanding the soul for the gift of a system. It's the seer practice. You are how others see it currently. You are a soul gift. You are a song full of soul. And I've been feeling this song lately, but it reminds me too much of that Guardian type. I read more into it and how others can see the conversion, invocation, how others see for this the possibility for the inventive, for the imagination, utterly and find it endearing for this to process, multi-dimensional awareness for this to be the tangible. Incredible sense of wonder for the off, what is wonderful enough for to have a significant contribution for the you have been fascinated by the world for the around them. You have more potential than you give yourself for the credit. You must converge to make that point, or be a power believer for the dreams of the soul, for the believer loves and trusts deeply, for you can compel acceleration for the growth and full expression. Have something sacred for similar to leaves of a plant for the photosynthesizing, for the light into the energy for the believer that you have the infusing the others, the essence of the wholeness and the completion for everything that is natural for the carrying the blueprint, for that you can be the cone, acorn, the plants that have that become, grow into that natural there. Or be a mature adult for this the amazing power of the believing that you can have the access to read this and find a blueprint intuitively, achieve that for the creation, do what is in order for the making growth achievable, believe in yourself and enabling secure yourself for the progress and practically being for the others and very hard for the life of the growth and expansion for your personal self in the fullest expression vision, helping yourself magnify for the mature manifest, believing that you can have a unique area for the development for the this is the dream for the soul, for that's compelled that to grow, important enough for discoveration, or you for the specific mentorship for the infrastructure for the family, for the spirituality, for the name of you I cannot find to tell you that dream for the soul, if it's here to you to grow or not, for this to here to grow, for the intimately, for the people, connections, believing in, wholeness, healing, long, fulfilled, doing it. You are amazing. Have you ever met somebody that wasn't honest with themselves? A friend who stayed in that relationship that was bad for them? A sibling who worked at the job they didn't like, for the parents who convinced themselves they were happy to just together for the way they things are for the situation. The messenger may ask that friend what's really going on with the beneath the relationships with the fact cave, the encouraging of the towards of compassion from the compelling and simply. Face that few, face that true. Face the few for the terrible job for which you could gently recall your childhood as a dream, or admit that for the parent for the understanding of the relationships while softly reminding them it's okay to find the happiness in what you can find that isn't with each other, for the role of the messengers is only to help the others for the current situation. Stay in forever, whatever you do, to the owner encourage yourself for the actions that will bring you in alignment with the soul, for the messenger to get attached to the true self, and they cannot forget to include the intimacy with the connection with the delivery when you do. You have the utmost power for the ability to create the real, for the lasting clarity, authenticity, for the freedom with the self, and the power that control you, for the resonating on the soul, for the core within. You instinctively know the truth of the ringing of the bones. Messenger heart, honest, authentic, real, uncover your wisdom for the heart, being clarity to all that surrounds you. What is your soul message? Have you ever thought about, for this is not for the recently coming across with your own brain for the heart display, your biorhythm with the confined existence with either in your order, you'll sync with it to being the experience, the frustration or the pain for the rhythm, your synchronicity, your frequency, you'll feel it so for that I can call this an alignment, for this is to be the institution for your coherence, and this is the same mechanism that you find this discoveration of your self-practice and the rhythm to it. Notice the rhythm of the breath. Take 6 of them, maybe the feel the capacity that longs to keep attention to that. Or some prefer for that you cannot be the statement for the such to make for the power of the center, or what it works for me for the ringing under your bones instinctively. It can especially be for you hard to hear the understanding of the information that you can have the heart to math up, equate. But it's how others see that for the demonstration, for the offering, for the benevolence of the intelligence, and how you can find yourself with the gift. It's already inside you. Drop down for the distance. You can be the description. Identify yourself to the soul of a gift for the description. And intrigue yourself with the further exploration of your self. For then inspire your initiator for the feeling and most alive for you to be not uncomfortable, but the future is known for the tending to be the fast paced mover for the shaking of the perception of what your world and through your ideas and the concepts. You tend to be emotional pits and never come out again for the vulnerability for this initiator for waiting and allow the darkness for the emotions to surface. Usually identifying quickly with the divine purpose and specifically the bits of a passion for the potential for the aliveness. Others to bring that joy for the sense of belonging to initiators. Or however for the other taught them pick their initiator for the false front. You think you may be that for the completely sure for the thinking about the regardless and hopelessness and despair. Stagnation extreme. And this is the display for the emotions and with the suicide for the medication you can find your peers of grief. Upsetting on the deep in the person level you are the probably. I find yourself an initiator or a messenger where there's a need for honest reflection, acceptance, and maybe the senses of it's a superficiality, authenticity, deeply troubling to the finding yourself and the reminding of people who they really are. But this is the feeling of the most alive of the integrity, truth, and realness, and you can present yourself. Messengers. Make it hard to bear, for this to have the difficulty you're learning through the emotions of anxiety, humiliation, and disgrace, the fear for that, for the having the lack of integrity violated, another for the disturbing, deeply finding yourself for the trust and the power of the voice for the divine purpose. You can be unsure for the self and the final degree for whether or not you can feel the disruptive for knowing. You can be the nouns on a chalkboard for the need for the growth, for the senses that it can provide, for you can contribute. You can do practical ways, and you can go through the growing pains, and you can run the river, a tear for the men, for come out again, for the dealing of decent wrong, require the letting go, for the scary most part, for this is to be, for the find it themselves, for the acts, for the help. Divine purpose for the description, you can have that relate to the name, for you to be the builder, for the construction, encapsulate it all, for you to be yourself. Probably a believer that the conduit, a sense of the deeper the longing to tap for the soul, for the drawn to be service of the main, maybe the fulfilling of the mysteriously you're drawing, or that this is to be drawn to the shore, for because you can be intimate. Or so.
Made up my mind, be by your side, to be your guide for
met somebody that wasn't? Have you ever met somebody that wasn't honest with you? Somebody that wasn't honest with themselves. A friend who stayed in that relationship that was bad for them. A sibling who worked at the job they didn't like, but the parents were convinced themselves they were happy just together for the way their things are for those who don't such situation. That's what you mean. What is see that demonstration. Yesterday, elements of the intelligence and how you define yourself in the
all my troubles
society,
seem so
inside, you drop
far
down in this
away.
discussion, identify yourself in the soul of the gift of this
Now
continue yourself in the further exploration of yourself. Within inspired, you're initiated for the feeling and most alive and not uncomfortable with the future is known for the tending to be the fast and pace before the shaking of the perception of what your world and through your ideas and
All
concepts.
my troubles
Tend to be
seem so
emotional
far
gates never come out of the vulnerability for this initiator for waiting and allowing
Now
the
it's
emotion to surface.
so that
Usually
you
identifying
say,
quickly with divine purpose and specifically the bits of a passion for the potential for the aliveness. Others to bring that joy for the sense of belonging to initiators. Or however, for the author to top and pick your initiator for the false front, you think you may be that for the and completely sure for the thinking about the regardless and hopelessness and despair, stagnation extreme. And this is display for the emotions and with the suicide for the medications you can find your peers of grief, upsetting on the deep in the person level you were the probably. I find yourself an initiator or a messenger where there's a need for honest reflection, acceptance, and maybe the senses of it, the superficiality, authenticity, deeply troubling to the finding yourself in the reminding of people who they really are, for this is the feeling of the most of life, of the integrity, truth, and realness, and you can present yourself. Messengers. Make it hard to bear, for this is the half the difficulty you're learning through the emotions of anxiety, humiliation, and disgrace, the fear for that, for the having the lack of integrity, violate another for the disturbing, deeply finding yourself for the trust and the power of the voice for the divine purpose. You can be unsure for yourself and to find a degree for whether or not you can feel the disruptive for knowing. You can be the nouns on the chalkboard for the need for the growth, for the senses that it can provide for you can contribute. You can your practical ways and you can go through the growing pains and you can run the river, a tear for the men for come out again for the dealing of these and wrong. Require the letting go for the scary most part, for this is to be for the find it themselves for the acts for the help.
And we feel that this next song
For the
shows the real
description
beauty
and how that
and the true
relates to
simplicity
you to be the
that's normally associated
construction
with a
and
folk song.
isolated all for you to be yourself. Probably a believer to the conduit. The sense of the deep of the longing is the type of the soul for the drawn to be service of the man. Maybe the fulfillment know that mysteriously you're drawing, or that this is to be drawn to the shore for because you can be intimate or surface level for the distress of the and often, how much do you express these emotions fully for the addition and only in kindness and acknowledgement and the
All
feeling?
my troubles seem so far away. Now it's looking so they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yes. All my troubles seem so far away. Now it's looking so they're here to stay.
And we feel that this next song shows the real beauty and the true simplicity that's normally associated with a folk song.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yes. All my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. day.